Hello everyone. I'm Swaraj, a volunteer at ADA, and I wholeheartedly welcome each one of you today in on webinar for 7 steps to self-empowerment. That are mindsets for confidence and success by Dr. Angela Burst. ADOR is a global voluntary platform which aims to motivate youth to identify and undertake positive activities for a better society. We here are a community network of students and universities professionals who interact with students so that they grow up successful professionals and responsible citizens. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker, Dr. Angela Chester. Ma'am is a pastoral counselor in private practice with offices in Long Beach, California. As an author, a cancer survivor, and host of Faith Talk Show Daily Spark with Dr. Angela and his sister shows. At Daily Spark TV, she has built a career spanning more than 20 years and hundreds and thousands of people counseled. Dr. Chester has also served as an associate pastor and has built a reputation as a thought leader on issues related to motivation and Christian empowerment as an international motivational speaker. Dr. Chester currently serves on the advisory board of the National Interfaith Council and is a member of International Society for Mental Health, the Global Christian Professional Women's Association, and the International Women's Leadership Association. Dr. Chester also holds a degree in pastoral counsel and divinity. She is the author of numerous books, including the best-selling Before You Tie the Knot, a premarital counseling workbook for the couples. She is the podcast host of The Modern Living with Dr. Angela on iHeartRadio. She is the host of Daily Spark TV on Preach the Word Network and on Daily Motion. So, I welcome here you, ma'am. We would request you to please enlighten us with your knowledge. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. It is a bright and early morning here in the States, so please forgive me if I say good morning or good afternoon. I realize it is evening there. Now, everyone, please feel free to call me Dr. Angela. I am a little less formal when it comes to my name. I do want everyone to always know that they are welcome and that there's no, that extra formality doesn't have to be there, but I appreciate it being extended. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys today because one of the things that is really important to me is empowering others. So when I was starting off, and I'll give you a little bit of my history before I get into the talk. I am a pastoral counselor, yes, and I'm on radio and TV and all of that, yes. But when I was 16 years old, I went to my church pastor and said, I want to help people. I don't mind listening to their problems, but I still want to give them a sense of hope and a sense of that everything's going to be okay from a faith perspective. Make that long story short. He says, you want to be a pastoral counselor. Okay, great. I need to figure out what that is. But thank you for the answer. Never heard of that, but let me Google that. Or do research. We didn't have Google then. So let me do some research. So in doing that, I found out that that was exactly what I wanted to do. And I was so thankful for him telling me that that was the path that I needed to go. Now, let's get to the year 2005. My business is now opening. I'm doing everything according to the plan, and I have my very first podcast. I am doing my podcast from my bedroom, and I love it. I think it's the most amazing thing in the world. But I also have a prayer that says, I think I could be on radio. I think I could do more. Well, it took about 5 years for that more to actually come. I get a call out of the blue, and what happens? Dr. Angela, we've been following your podcast and we would love to give you your own radio show. What? Amazing. Of course. Okay. I'm still trying to be calm and listen to what's being presented to me. We would like to give you a weekly show. It's for an hour and it's in one city. Okay, not a problem. Well, here's what we need from you. Fill out the form kind of thing. But most importantly, they needed a name. Please give us the name for your show. You have 24 hours. We'll get back to you tomorrow. Not a problem. So I spent some time in prayer and contemplation. What do I name this show? This is the answer to one of my prayers. I come with the name Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I talked to her the next day and she says, Dr. Angela, do you realize, I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke. This is only a weekly show. And you're saying daily, like you're not going to be on daily. And I said, that's the name that I was given. That's the name that I'm going with. How they tell you to stick with your first mind. So that's what I did. Well, if we fast forward about a year, that weekly show did turn into a daily show. That one location turned into 3 locations. Now, if we fast forward to just last year, I am now on in 7 different cities here in the States. I'm now on Spotify and Amazon Music and TuneIn and Apple Music and all these other locations. We do radio live, and then it has a replay on the streaming platforms, the way that many people listen to their podcast. I was so excited because my dreams are coming true, right? This is everything that I've prayed for. Now, here's an interesting twist. And I say it jokingly, but very informatively. Sometimes we have to be careful what we ask the universe for, right? We have to be careful what we pray to God for. One of my prayers, or another one of my prayers, was expand my territory. Okay. Well, here's the cherry on top. Radio has a spinoff to TV. There's my expand my territories. So even while I was still doing radio, Daily Spark TV was also developed in that time. So sure, I am still doing New Life Pastoral Counseling. I am still doing my podcast with Modern Living with Dr. Angela. I now have a radio show, Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, and now I'm doing TV, Daily Spark TV. Wow. Talk about things manifesting and really being able to live your dream. Well, one of the things that I say for radio and TV, and it is my life mission, and that is that I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you. That is so important to me, is to enlighten, inspire, and empower. Now, I realize that I talk to international audiences many times, and even though we may not be of the same faith, we may not be in the same geographical location, the one thing that tends to hold true is that people want to be their best selves. They want to make sure that they're doing all they can do to not only be the best for themselves, but also to honor family ties and to leave a great legacy. Well, that's what I hope to do today, is to share some of the things that I have done along the way that have helped me get there. Now, is it all right if I go on and start with my 7 points? Yes, alrighty. If everyone is ready, I'll get going. So the first question, and I'm going to look down from time to time because I do have some points that I want to make sure that I make with you. So the first is, what is self-empowerment? And I like to describe it this way. Self-empowerment means making a conscious decision to take charge of your future, your life, or your destiny. I'm going to say that again. Self-empowerment means making a conscious decision to take charge of your life, your future, or your destiny. Now, depending on where you are, and even here in the States, people say your future, your life, your destiny interchangeably. There's not a real big difference between that. So I may use those words interchangeably as well. So what does that include? That means that we need to learn how to make positive choices. We need to learn how to take action, and we need to be confident in our ability and to make executive decisions. Now, that might all sound like a lot, but we do that every day. We may not realize it, but we do. Let's start with something simple, making a positive choice. Many times we make a positive choice by not being rude to someone, helping someone who is elderly, assisting that little one, that toddler there that seems to be having a tough go at it, right? We make positive choices every day. Deciding to take action. So with some of your future dreams, it has required that you go to college or university, or you get a certification or some type of credential. If you're doing that, you're moving forward with that action to advance. Some of you may have decided that you are going to, what we refer to as, take a gap year. That means from high school into college, you're taking a year off. Okay, a lot of people do that. And in that year, you figure out, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What is my dream? What is my passion? You're still taking action. Now, being confident in your abilities. Now, let's be honest. We all know what we can do and what we can't do, right? So even though I might be really good at what I do, if someone asked me to all of a sudden explain nuclear fusion, I couldn't do it. If someone said, we need you to do brain surgery, couldn't do it. Don't like blood, right? So there are things that, even though we are very capable in our own abilities, there are other things that we may not be so good at. And it's okay to know that you're not good at that, but you're really good at this. Now, executive decisions. Every day we have to make an executive decision. What are we going to do today? Are we going to be positive? Are we going to be negative? Are we going to go to college? Or go to school? Are we going to go to work? Are we going to take care of our parents or our grandparents? What are we going to do? Everything is an executive decision. And why do I say that? Because you are the executor of your life. You are the person that is putting into action the things that you are going to do. Now, I know that many times here in the States, when someone turns 18, they're like, I am officially an adult. You can't tell me what to do. Hey, mom, what should I do, right? It happens the world over, and that's okay. But every day you're learning even more, because as you mature and grow, you're getting more and more responsibility. You're getting more and more knowledge behind those choices, and you learn what to do. Now, how does that self-empowerment play into some of the life lessons that I have learned along the way? I was first empowered by my pastor when I was 16 and telling me what he thought was the proper direction. And it ended up being the proper direction. Why? Because I knew my own abilities. I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what to call it. Having that mentor, having that person to go to where you can have those conversations is so important and so vital. Now, believing in yourself and knowing again, what are your abilities, and that executive decision. I want to do this, that, and the other, but I know I shouldn't do that over there. And deciding that, what is the right time frame? What is the right action for me to take next to make sure that all of these things come true? So what is point number one? Now, I'm not giving these in any particular order, meaning like I did this and then I did that. I'm just giving you the 7 things that I really found that I ended up honing in on to make my life what it is today. So number 1 is attitude. You have to develop a positive attitude. Now, at no time am I saying that you are not already there. So if you are, this is a friendly reminder. If you're not there yet, this is a friendly reminder that this might help get you to where you want to go. So developing a positive attitude. It is a quote here that says, your attitude determines your altitude, right? So how far you go, how high you're able to rise, really depends on how you choose to look at life. I am a glass half full type of person. Now, we have optimistic people, pessimistic people, we have people that are realists. We need all types of people in the world. But one thing that I choose to believe is that if we have enough positive people in the world, that it will help combat some of the negativity. It will help combat some of the toxicity, some of those naysayers, some of those haters out there that are just kind of trying to tilt this way, and being positive helps us tilt back, right? Trying to keep that homeostasis there. So what are some things that we can do? When we look at having a positive attitude, we determine, again, our own destiny, our own future. So rather than giving into external concepts, giving into external feelings that, oh, well, if you don't happen upon good luck, if you don't stumble upon the right circumstance, then nothing's going to go right. Well, if you have a positive attitude, then you're saying, well, I can help create a circumstance. I can help create an environment that's going to help me become the person that I need to be. So one of the things that we can do is practice not only a positive attitude, but also a positive outlook. So when you have a positive attitude, it in turn gives you a positive outlook, right? So if you're having a bad day and it's kind of like grumble, grumble, mumble, mumble, like, I don't want to do anything, I don't understand what's going on, everything's just going bad, boo, 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 boo. Your outlook for the rest of the day is like, I don't even want to do anything. I just want to go home. I just want to be by myself. Leave me alone. Okay, so your outlook has gone from bright and sunny to kind of clouds of gray, right? But if in that moment you say, well, yeah, everything is kind of right now, right? But it's only right now. It's only in this particular moment. So I forgot my paper, or I don't have my ID. Let me run back to the car, or let me go home and get it, or I'm running a few minutes late. But if I call and let them know, then they know I'm on my way and I have to rush in and lose it. Now, if you've ever been in any metropolitan city, I know you guys know this as well. LA, Chicago, where you guys are there, right? It can be horrible with traffic, be it that you are driving or you're on the train. It's craziness. And sometimes, just sometimes, it gets in the way even of your best laid plans. So in that positive attitude, we can still have a positive outlook if we just inform others of what's going on and we take the high road as opposed to allowing what's going on to bring us down to the low road. Now, evaluating your strengths and weaknesses. I personally think that this is so important. And why is that? Because if you don't know your own strengths and weaknesses, then you are going to be railroaded into doing those things that you're not qualified to do. So if someone said, Dr. Angela, can you come on and talk to us from the point of neuroscience? Nope. Can you come on and talk to us about the importance of having a particular diet? Nope, because I'm not a nutritionist. I can tell you from personal experience what works for me. Make sure you drink plenty of water, that you eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Sure, I can give you general knowledge, but can't be your keynote speaker. Understanding that allows me to not only embarrass myself, embarrass my family, but not embarrass the organization that's asking me to do it as well, right? Because they're expecting a certain level of information. So knowing what your limitations are and understanding that boundaries, having borders is okay in your life, because we all have them. Because when we don't respect them, when we don't understand where we should stop and someone else should begin. If you think about it, if you've ever been asked to do something that you really didn't know what you were doing and you tried to do it anyway, you didn't feel your best at the end of that because you didn't feel like you really gave 100% or even 110% because you weren't sure of what you were doing in the first place. So many times we have to learn to delegate or to say no and still keep that positive attitude. Now, the other bit of trusting your ability, and keeping a positive attitude is in trusting your own ability. Now, if you know that you have a very elementary understanding of something, if you have an advanced understanding of something, you should trust in that ability. I remember that I was doing some volunteer work one day, and someone needed to make a phone call to someone in Canada. And they were calling the French-speaking section of Canada. And they said, "Does anyone here speak French?" I did not raise my hand. I said, "Okay, can anyone here read French?" I did not raise my hand. They said, "Guys, listen, we really need to make this phone call. This is the script that we've been given. Does anybody know French?" Well, I reluctantly, maybe, let me look at it. And I was able to pick out enough words that I said, well, this is this and that and this and this. If you can make a paragraph out of that, here you go. Well, it gave them enough of an understanding of, oh, okay, I think I know what they're saying. So that when they made that phone call, they could piece it together in English enough to convey the message. So understanding that I was not going to be the interpreter for that event, right? But also understanding that my ability, even though it was an elementary level ability, I still was able to be utilized in a situation. So trusting your ability is also knowing when to step out and when to have a seat. Many times we need to speak up and be an advocate, but sometimes we need to be the student. We need to sit down and allow someone else who has more experience, more knowledge, to be the one who is the leader. Now, as you mature and grow, that will ebb and flow. You will know when the moment is right for you to speak up, for you to trust in your ability to be able to handle a situation. Now, we call that a gut feeling. I know people refer to it as different things, but it's really important to know when to trust your intuition, and you will be able to step out in that more and more. Now, another thing that we can do of the 7, number 2 for me is setting goals. Now, I've been a self-motivated person for quite some time, like all my life. And I realized that as I matured, that not everyone was where I was with that. Some people are motivated by outside sources. Meaning, like when you're exercising, you want that trainer, you want that person that's going to come in and say, "Move it, let's go, give me 5 more," right? Some people need that. I don't. I appreciate a good trainer though, I must admit, right? Come on, give me 5 more. And I always love that guy that says, "Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, give me 5 more." And you're like, oh my gosh. But you know what happens? They pushed you, right? They made you stretch. They made you reach even further. They made you dig down deep and find the willpower to find that extra bit of juice, that extra bit of power that you have, that sometimes we think is just in our reserve tank, but really isn't. It's readily available for us. And we really do have a reserve in the reserve tank. We're just not used to tapping into that extra piece that we've had all along. Well, in goal setting, now most people think about goal setting as having SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. So SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. Now, one of the things that I really look at more so are the measurable and achievable goals when I'm talking about kind of keeping that positive mindset. So there are, to me, what I like to call starter goals, intermediate goals, and then those goals that require us to really think outside of the box. So when I'm planning, I use one or the other system, ABC, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like the street light, red, yellow, green. So you determine what works best for you, depending on what I'm doing. I may personally use, this is an A goal, meaning I absolutely have to get this done today. A B may be, I need to get this done within the week. And C would be, I need to get this done within the month. Many times when I'm presenting or I'm talking with a counseling client, I will use red, yellow, green. Red is something that is urgent and we need to address this today, like you may be in crisis. Yellow is something that, we need to talk about this or discuss it, if not today, the next time I meet with you. And green is, this is wonderful. This is the progress that you have made, but I still want to wrap back around to this maybe in 2 to 3 weeks or next month to make sure that you're still maintaining the progress that you have made. So depending on what you're doing, ABC, 1, 2, 3, red, yellow, green will always work for you. So measurable and achievable goals, those are those things that you want to do a particular something. You have a time that you are trying to be able to achieve that goal, and you're able to reverse engineer that goal, right? So many times we ask someone, where are you going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, that's so far in the future. What do you have to do right now to get to that future? Right? So I remember being asked that question, and it's like, where do I want to be in 5 years? Oh, wow. I want to, and then you start rattling off all these things that you want to do, right? And then you go, okay, so what do you need to do today? What? I don't know. Because that's honest, right? You don't know. I want to be I don't know. And it's like, well, let's sit down and let's figure it out. Because if you want to, and I'll use myself as an example, if you want to be a pastoral counselor, then you need to make sure that you have gone to college or university. Well, what's the first step in doing that? You need to make sure that you've graduated from high school. You need to make sure that you're taking the proper classes. You need to make sure that you have done all of the things that are required of you, right? So when you are in mental health in any capacity, when you have your master's degree, then you're able to branch out and start working in your field. One of my goals is that I wanted to be Dr. Angela. I didn't want to just be Angela, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to go as far as I could in my path, right? In my industry. So that was a goal. So what do I need to do now? I need to take another 2 years so that I can become that Dr. Angela that I want to do. So let's look at something a little bit more broad. Let's say you want to have your own podcast. What do you need to do? You need to determine, what are you going to talk about? How often are you going to be on? Are you going to be a weekly show, a daily show? Are you going to be on for 30 minutes, an hour? Or are you going to do maybe 5 minutes of motivation or meditation or just positive thoughts? Here on the radio, there's even an option for having a 5-minute show. I had no idea that even existed until I realized that I was listening to music and this lady was talking. It's kind of like an ad that pops up when you're watching a video on YouTube and you're like, what happened? This isn't what I was watching, right? And I was, that's a positive thought. I like that. Then back to the music. And I said, how ingenious. So even in the middle of the day, when you're listening to music, this program that comes on every day, you get 5 minutes of positive thought. Well, maybe that's something that you can do. It's a start. in going in the right direction for you, using that podcast or that radio as an example. See, when I was podcasting, I understood that if I wanted to be on radio, I needed to have a great podcast. No one wanted to hear a horrible radio program because no one wants to hear a horrible podcast, right? So in understanding that there are all of these wonderful things in the future, but what do you do a year prior? What do you do 6 months prior to that, right? So starting with that 5-year mark, take that 5 years and break that down to a year. Prior to that year, what do you need to do in that first 6 months? What do you need to do within that other 6 months, right? So that gets you back 2 years. You then need to start asking yourself, well, what do I need to do in the next 90 days? Okay. What do I now need to do in the next month? What do I need to do next week? What do I need to do today? And then what do I need to do right now? Right now. Now, most people don't even get that minute in their thinking. They just kind of keep everything off at a distance. Oh, I want to do that thing in 5 years. I know that I need to graduate first, or I need to get the money for this first, or I need to do that. Okay, that's fine. But if you're not thinking about what you need to do in that shorter time frame, 5 years will always be in the future, right? So in setting those goals, I like to give the example of, if you want to run a marathon, most people cannot get up today and just go run 26 miles. Maybe you can. Who am I to doubt you? Maybe you can, but most people can't do that, right? So you have to train, you have to plan. So what are some of the things that you can do to get ready for that? You have to first be able to run. But before you can run, you must be able to what? Walk. If you can't walk, then you're not going to be able to run. So kind of zipping down from that, I want to be able to run a marathon, let's say in 2 years. What do I need to do in this month? I need to start walking. If I'm not already walking, I need to start walking further and further. So what do? Today, you would go walk for 30 minutes. How do you feel? Judge yourself. Assess yourself. Are you winded? Are you tired? Do you feel like you're about to pass out? Like, what's going on in your body, right? Because if you haven't moved your body in a while, the slightest bit of activity really winds you. It really makes you tired. So you have to judge, what can I do? What can't I do? And as you do that more and more, you'll be able to do more and more. Now, let's move on. Be assertive. Now, this can be kind of tricky for some people because they're like, be assertive. And it's like, well, it doesn't mean to be mean or disrespectful or to disregard others' feelings. Being assertive means that you are willing to express yourself. Or I wrote it this way. Being assertive means you must be comfortable expressing your thoughts, your ideas, and your needs. Being assertive means being comfortable expressing your thoughts, your ideas, and your needs. Remember before we talked about having those boundaries and understanding what you can and cannot do. Having a boundary doesn't mean that you don't want someone else to be around you. It just means that I know that with my ability, with my mindset, with my personality, with who I am, I respectfully cannot cross over into that section because I'm not comfortable there. So many times when we're not assertive, this definition that I'm giving here, then we end up doing those things that we're not comfortable doing. We end up stepping outside of our own boundaries, and then we find ourselves in a land that is foreign to us, in an activity in which we feel uncomfortable. So in creating a boundary, what do you need to do in being assertive and making sure that you are being respectful of yourself as well as others? How do you do that? First, I believe that you need to be upfront. You need to ask yourself, what do I like and dislike? What can I do? What can't I do? So let's use time of day as an example. If you like driving or being outside during the day, but you don't like doing it at night, then you need to be upfront with that. And one way that you can do it is just in general conversation when you're talking and people are saying, oh, I can't wait to go here and do that and do this. And it's like, oh yeah, right. I would go in the daytime because I don't like traveling at night. So you just made people aware of your boundaries, right? You weren't confrontational, right? But you were able to say it in a way that was just informative. And the more you say that, the more that people will understand, oh, wow, she says that a lot. Yeah, he did mention that last time. So when they're planning and it's a group of you, they'll say, oh, well, we're not going to put Angela on the night shift because she said before that she doesn't like driving at night. So we'll make her drive during the day. Easy peasy, right? It's been solved. And it wasn't a whole lot of determination that needed to be done. No executive decisions needed to be made. You simply made the decision because the information was readily available. So being upfront is really helpful to others. And along with that is being consistent. How I said that you mention it, not just once, but a few times over. In understanding that this is where you are, this is where you stand, then people will learn to respect your boundaries. Now, why don't people accept or respect other people's boundaries? Because they put their boundary in front of yours. They make themselves more important than the group or the others. Let's think about a situation in which it was you and your group or organization or even family members for all of that, right? So, and unfortunately it does happen with family members too, right? So let's say that it was someone's turn to drive. We'll stay with that idea, right? Now we already know that I am going to be a day driver because I don't like driving at night. But someone else says, well, I don't like driving at night either. So guess what? You're just going to have to do it. Okay. I mean, I can, but I don't really like it. The other person can, but they don't really like it either. But even as people, we have a hierarchy system, the same way that the animals do, right? So we know that if mother or father, if grandmother or grandfather asks us to do something, we're going to do it because of who they are. So if mother says, I don't want to drive, guess who's driving? Bing, right? So get behind the wheel. Here I go. So if I'm driving at night and I drive a little slower than usual, and then someone says, well, why are you driving so slow? I don't know the route. I don't know where I am, and I don't want to drive too fast because I don't know how the road bends, or I don't know if there's like a secret street that's going to come in and there's no stop sign. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar. So I would rather go slow and be safe than to go quickly and potentially harm all of us. Now, if someone else says, oh, well, I know this street and I don't mind driving at night. Wonderful. You know what you need to do? Get out of the driver's seat, get in the back, and let that person drive. Guess what happens? Now you're zipping along, you're going on the street and you're twisting and turning and you get there in record time. You made up for the time where I may have been driving slow because I was unsure. So when you give up to the person who is able, who is capable, who knows what they're doing, you're able to get there expeditiously. Right? So in understanding that there's a time to be assertive in expressing your thoughts and your ideas, but there's also a time where you're expressing your thoughts and your ideas, but that allows you to step back instead of stepping forward. Okay. Now, I'm a breast cancer survivor. Now, one of the things that I talk about many times in my journey to becoming a survivor was that when I went to the doctor, my doctor was not in that day, and there was a substitute person. That doctor not only did not work in that office, but he was from one of the other buildings. So he wasn't familiar with us at all. He had never rotated through to meet us. So when I said, I believe I have a situation here, could you please check me? He says, how old are you? And I was 30 something at the time. And he says, oh no, you don't have that. You don't have breast cancer. You're too young. Well, I did have breast cancer. And I knew that something was wrong. So I had to be assertive. I had to speak up and say, respectfully, doctor, please check me. Please do a medical procedure so that you can rule out that this is not cancer. If I had not spoken up for myself, if I had not been an advocate for myself, I would have been sicker. But because I knew how I felt, because I knew that what I was experiencing was not normal for me, that doctor chose to, instead of putting what he thought was the correct answer in front of me, he accepted my answer after having a consult with another doctor, but it did turn out the way that I needed it to be. And guess what? I had breast cancer. Now, I'm well now. I'm doing great. But the thing is that so many times, depending on our personalities, we are not assertive. We are a little bit more passive. We're a little bit more introverted. We're a little more quiet. Well, I happen to be an extrovert. I happen to be the type of person that will speak up for that person that's a little more shy, that's a little more quiet. Now, I know that for many people, speaking up and speaking out can be perceived as being combative or being mean, being aggressive. I think, again, that there's a way to be an advocate and still be respectful of all parties concerned, right? All right, so let's move on. Self-care is number 4. Self-care. Now, I personally believe that self-care is a must, an absolute must. Now, self-care is, my definition is that thing that you do that helps you feel happy, healthy, and safe. Happy, healthy, and safe. Now, depending on the type of person that you are, that determines what your happy level is going to be. That determines what you do. So there's no one size fits all here, but I'll use general examples. So one of the things that I love to do is going to the beach. I find it to just be so relaxing. It is, for me, the sound of the waves, the crashing, and the natural white noise that the water makes. Well, that happens to be the spot that I love. But I also like going to the mountains. When I was a teen, that was something that we did every summer. And it was a beautiful thing. It really got me in tune with nature, and it gave me an opportunity to appreciate all of the various environments and surroundings that we had. I remember taking a cup and dipping it in the water and getting a cup of fresh mountain water. Now, when I was, oh my goodness, maybe 13 or so when I did that, that totally blew my mind. Because to me, fresh water was, turn on the faucet in the kitchen and you get water that way, right? So to be able to dip it and get a fresh cup of water, it's like, this is fresh from the source. This is like God water, right? Like, this is the water that everyone needs, that's running through the world. No, probably being a little over dramatic there, but that's how I felt because I was a kid, right? I was a preteen, but I was so excited to have that experience. And here I am, 50 years old now, and I'm still talking about it, right? Because it made such an impact on me. Because even though it was water and I loved water, it was in a different environment. It was in a different setting. It was presented to me differently. So sometimes those things that you do for self-care, they can be presented to you in one way, and it can make you feel one way. It can be presented in a different way, and it can yet and still make you feel a different way. So what do you enjoy doing? What do you love doing that really just allows you to be you? Not your title, not your gender, not your age, not any of those labels that we put on ourselves, but just that thing that makes your spirit feel good. That's self-care. For some people, it's as simple as allowing someone else to wash your hair or shampoo your hair. For many women, you love going to get your hair done because you have an opportunity to just relax. You don't have to blow dry your hair. You don't have to curl your hair. Someone else is going to do all of that. And you can just sit there and be pampered, right? It's a beautiful thing. Guys, maybe it's learning to get a massage or getting like your hands done. I know for many people, we're working on the computers now a lot, and we don't realize how tense that can make our bodies. So going to either a spa or a salon and getting your hands massaged, and just if you've never gone and you go, you will realize how tight your hands were and you didn't even realize it. It is such a wonderful experience and you feel so much better, right? So doing those things. Now, it can cost money or it can be free. Everything that we do in life doesn't have to be expensive, and everything we do in life doesn't have to be free. But self-care is about doing those things that may be a mixture of both. But more importantly, it's about those things that make you feel loved, that make you feel honored, that make you feel as though, I am now balanced, I'm now centered, right? So sometimes for me, that is simply going outside in the backyard and just sitting down on my lawn chair and just watching the squirrels go by, or listening to the birds, or just spending time in the sunlight. Now, for some folks are like, that's too easy. It's gotta be more involved than that, right? You have to go get a mani-pedi and, get your eyebrows done and you have to go spend some money, buy a purse, do something. Now, even though shopping does make me happy, retail therapy, as we like to call it, sure. But sometimes the simple things are the things that bring you the most joy as well. So find your balance there. Next is dress the part. Number 5 is dress the part. Now, we like to tell people that we should not only dress for where we are, but we should dress for where we want to go. So if you want to be the CEO, dress like the CEO. If you want to be an owner, a founder, a director, whatever title you want to give it, you dress the part, right? So perhaps that doesn't mean that you walk around in a full suit, but you are at least business casual for whatever it is that you need to do. Now, some people say, well, Dr. Angela, I don't want to be in corporate America, or I don't want to be in an office. I want to be a mechanic. Okay, that's awesome. How does a mechanic dress? What do you need to have readily available to you? Where I grew up, there was a shipyard. It's huge. They get the contracts that make some of the naval ships that we use for the military. You can kind of spot some of the people that work at the shipyard because they're welders, right? Welders wear these overalls, kind of a jumpsuit, if you will. Sometimes they have their hard hats. They have a very matter-of-fact type of attitude. They're hard-working folks. They not only love what they do, but they're willing to bring others into the fold. With that being said, if I saw someone who had on those really thick boots with the steel toe, or I saw someone who had on that overall or that welder's mask that kind of fits around and they bring it down so that those fiery fly off doesn't hit them in the face, I know what that is right off the bat. But what does it mean when you're walking around day to day and you're not at work? How do you dress the part in that occasion? Well, the best way to find out how to do that is to talk to someone in that field. How does a doctor dress when the doctor's not at the hospital? You talk to a doctor to find out, how do you exist when you're not at the hospital? How does a teacher behave when they're not teaching? You talk to someone who's a teacher, right? So the thing is that when you want to dress the part, to me, it's twofold. It's not only about the clothes that you wear, but it's more importantly about how you feel in the clothes that you wear. Someone may say, well, you have on an apron and there's flour on your face. How do you feel important looking like that? Well, if your dream is to be a baker and to own your own shop and to make beautiful pastries so that your community can enjoy it, oh, that flour is beautiful on your face. You can't wait every day to put that apron on and go and do that thing that you've dreamed of to create with your hands. I know when it's the holidays here and it's Thanksgiving or it's Christmas, I have a very special apron that I put on only for those occasions, only when it's a special occasion. And when I have that apron on, my son knows there's serious cooking about to go on, right? Because I've put on the uniform, I've put on the dress, the clothing of that requirement. So there may be something that you put on or something that you take off that helps you understand that you're moving in the right direction. Now, one of the things that I used to tell my counseling clients is, for here, there's a realtor, a real estate agent, that they wear a jacket that is of a particular color. So when they're out showing homes, they have this jacket on. When they're just themselves throughout, the regular day and they're at the grocery store, they don't have that jacket on. One of the things that I tell counseling clients is that when you're at work, put on your jacket, right? Be it that it's a sweater or it's actually a suit jacket or it's a vest. It could be a necklace for a woman. It could be something that you pin in your hair, certain earrings, whatever it is. Put on that vest when you're at work. But how do you leave work at work? You take off that jacket when you're done. So when I'm at home, I'm not Dr. Angela at home. My mother doesn't call me Dr. Angela. She calls me Angela. Sometimes she says, hey, right? It's like you walked by and she's like, hey, who else could she be talking to but me, right? So you answer. You know that she's speaking to you. My son doesn't call me Dr. Angela. He doesn't call me Angela. He calls me mom, right? So in that, we wear so many labels. We wear so many hats. But we need to know, what are the clothes? What are the things that we need to put on to be the person that we need to be? But also, what do we need to take off to be the person that we need to be as well? So don't always keep your work clothes on. Your family wants to enjoy you. They want to just be with you. Though the money may be wonderful, the prestige may be wonderful, and all of those things, they don't love me because of my title. They love me because of me, because of my heart, because of who I am, right? With also dress the part, I like to think of accessories as well. Now, many times we don't think about accessories when we're thinking about the things that we put on ourselves, but accessories can be very important. Ladies, we know that a great pair of earrings or a beautiful necklace, a nice ring or bracelet can really help accessorize what we have on. Many times we even have different glasses if we're able to. I have this kind of brown pair, which is kind of my everyday. I have a black pair that I tend to wear when I'm out and about, especially if it's a very corporate-like setting. But I also have a gold pair that my sister gave to me one day. And she says, "You're just so fancy." So I'm going to give these to you. I hope you can use them. Well, they're a little bit too strong and I can't see through them, but I still have them in my drawer. Why? One, because my sister gave them to me. Two, because they are a little fancy and I do like them and I think that they're beautiful. And from time to time I put them on and I can't see, it like makes my vision worse. So I put them on and I look in the mirror and I just kind of take them off and put them back in the drawer. But in that moment, I feel loved. In that moment, I feel special. I feel appreciated, right? And I'm dressing in the part of whatever it is that I need to do, even if it's just for a moment. So in that accessory, you want to have the best of whatever it is that you can have. I remember I heard a story one time of a lady that said, I was trying to make it in corporate America and she was trying to work for like a Fortune 500 company. She said, I only had one dress that was expensive, only one pair of shoes that was expensive, one pair of really nice earrings, and a very simple gold chain or silver chain. She says, for every interview that I went on, I wore that outfit because it projected what the company was looking for, that she had means. She says, really, my wardrobe consisted of inexpensive clothes. But when I had the job where I was required to dress that way, I still had some of those items. But being unemployed for quite some time, I couldn't go out and purchase new things. Now, even though she went on to talk about the success and how she landed the job and all of that, and how it was kind of a from rags to riches again type of story, what I got out of that is that she understood the power of presentation. She understood that in her clothes, in her accessories, that it projected to someone that she had the means, that she was able and she was capable. Perhaps many of you are going to be in a situation where you are looking for a certain position and the person who's interviewing you wants to know that you have the means, that you are able, that you are capable. Sometimes our accessory is also our speech. Are you knowledgeable enough for the thing in which you're trying to apply or to do? Sometimes the requirement is speaking the language, speaking the jargon of a particular industry, but also knowing when to use the jargon and when not to. For example, I'm sure that if you are a coder, you have certain language that you use. If you're a gamer, there's certain language that you use, right? Every profession has their jargon, has their language that they use. Make sure you know it. Make sure you know it inside and out, that you know it with your eyes closed, you know it in your sleep, right? You know it. So that when the opportunity comes, you're able to present it. So your accessory is also your speech. Now, fellas, you're not out of this either. For a man to look really good, to look the best that he can possibly be, of course, if there are any things that are very specific to your region, then do those things. But here in the States, it's making sure that you have a wonderful watch. Women especially look at a man's watch, his shoes, and his belt to make sure that he is very well put together. And of course, a nice haircut. Now, again, not saying that you guys aren't doing that, but it is the accessory, right? So if you are going to be anywhere where there's an American around, I just want you to know they're looking at those items, because that's what we've been taught almost to do here, because it's in those accessories that speaks volumes about who you are, about your means, about your capability. Well, that seems a little judgy, doesn't it? Absolutely. So let's get that out the way. Yes, it's judgy. It sure is. But unfortunately, in our societies, people can be judgmental, right? So you have to put forth your best that you possibly can. And as you grow and mature, all of those things are going to change. Why do we hold such prestige for a person who can wear a Rolex watch? Why is it? It's just a timepiece. So are you saying that a $20 watch does not tell the same time that a $250,000 watch does? It's still telling time. A sundial will also tell you the time, right? So in that, people place various degrees of importance on certain things. Make sure that you have one of those things to present. Alrighty? Now, the last little bit there on dress the part is your writing utensils. Now, one of the things that I do, and I'm trying to see if I have one of my pens here. Okay, I do. So, believe it or not, you can have something as simple as a pen that helps you stay on track. So I'm going to tell you about two pens that, it's white, so of course it's not showing up too good here. So let me tell you about this little handy dandy pen. It is gold in color, just a little ballpoint pen, little faux diamond on the end. Not expensive at all. This pen's about $7. This pen, on the other hand, much more expensive. This pen was given to me. This was a self-purchase. I also have a blue one that's like this. But this pen was given to me as a Christmas present from a lady at church. She says, I know that you like bling, you like shiny stuff. You always have on these beautiful accessories when I see you on Sundays, and you're so well put together. I know that you do a lot of planning and all of that kind of stuff, so I know that you write all the time. So when I saw this pen, I thought this pen would be perfect for you. Maybe you could use it? Oh, wow. Hit me right here in my heartstrings, right? So I'll say, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So do I use this pen in my day-to-day? I sure do. I use this pen with my handy dandy Post-it notes, and the things that just kind of pop in my head, I write them down. So I use this pen as what I call my dream pen. Those things that pop into my head that they have no form or function yet, but it's like, oh, that's a good idea, and I just jot it down. I purposely pick up this pen and I jot it down. Now, when I am doing those things that require me to really put something out there, that I am trying to actualize it, I am trying to manifest it in my life, it is a part of who I am, I'm moving forward, then I use the other pen. Why? Because these pens were purchased by myself at certain points in my life. When I first started television, I purchased a pen. When I reached my 100th episode for radio, I purchased a pen. I'm about to have my 500th episode on radio and start season 10 of television. Guess what I'm gonna do when I get to those marks? I'm gonna buy myself a pen. Why a pen? Well, for me, a pen is a very beautiful writing instrument, but they can also have personal value, but also be perceived by others as having value. Now, depending on where you are in the world, you can have a cross pen, you can have a Mont Blanc pen, you can have all of these beautiful writing utensils, right? And someone, if interviewing with you or spending time with you, if that is a status symbol for them as well, if you have one of them, then it helps you present yourself in a way that says, I'm capable, I'm able. I have achieved X, Y, and Z in society. I purchased them because I love beautiful pens. It is just one of those things, my self-care, that I give to myself. So every time I pick up one of these pens, I remind myself that I have achieved a something in my life. I will not purchase the pen without reaching the goal. So if I say I want a blue pen, I want a white pen, and I try to use a color that's important for what I do. So radio and TV, I am kind of a cobalt blue, a very bright blue color. I am yellow for one, orange for the other, and white is always the surrounding color. So I bought a blue pen, I have a white pen. I'm gonna buy a gold pen next, right? So each time I'm getting a color that represents the next stage in which I am. So no matter what you do, have one of these pens with you. The blue pen is in my purse. So when I'm out and about, and if I have to sign for something, because nowadays you just kind of swipe your life away, but if I have to sign for something, I can pull out that pen and sign. And it keeps me grounded. It keeps me looking forward. It reminds me of, wow, you've come a long way, but there's still so much more to go. Why? Because I need that next color pen, right? Alrighty, so let's go on. Next is declutter and organize. Declutter and organize. Now for me, this includes ridding your space of distractions, negativity, and toxic people. So I'm going to talk about the declutter part first. Rid your space of distractions, negativity, and toxic people. So many times we have distractions that are around us, and when we're trying to work, what are they doing? Distracting us, right? It could be something as simple as the television is on, or the music is playing, or you're trying to study in a room full of people. Whatever the distraction is, separate yourself from that distraction. Turn it off, turn it down, move yourself, move the people, whatever it is that you need to do, but get rid of the distractions. Sometimes the distraction is also ourselves. And I hate to say it that way, but sometimes we can be our own worst distraction because our mind isn't on the task. So you're sitting there and you're typing away on your laptop, or you have your phone and you're ruling the world in your little section of the world. And then as soon as, a song comes on and you're like, hey, I like that song, right? You just distracted yourself. You chose to distract yourself. So turn it down. Or someone walks into your space, and instead of saying, I'm studying right now, or hold on one second, I really need to get this done, you put the phone down, you close the laptop, and you start chatting away. We can distract ourselves. Sometimes we even allow our brains to distract us. So a thought comes in and you go, oh, yeah. And you go right along on the journey, right? Nope. Guess what the handy dandy pen is for? And a Post-it note. You write the thought down, you get back to work. You don't allow yourself to distract yourself. The more you do that, the more that you set up that boundary, the more you will train your brain that when I am doing this is what we're doing. You're not allowing for the distractions to happen. The negativity. I have a negativity-free zone around me. I don't care for negativity. I don't like it. I don't want you to do it. Don't want you to participate in it. Don't want you to try to blow negative smoke over here on me. I try to be as positive as I can each and every day. Does negativity creep into our lives? Absolutely, because we're human, right? So what happens if someone comes in and they want to talk about their horrible day? I'm a good friend. I'm a great family member. I'll listen for a little while. I do, because sometimes people just want to vent, right? They just want to let it out. I totally agree. Let it out. Don't hold it in. That could be detrimental. But I'm only going to give you a certain amount of my time. I'm only going to give you a certain amount of my spirit to be able to spew the negativity. So it's kind of like, because I'm a glass half full type of person, right? You take that glass that is half empty, half full. If you're pouring into my glass, you only have this much space. And if it's negative, you have about that much space. Because I don't want you to get me to my capacity in negativity. But if I'm a glass that is half full and you are pouring positivity into me, I don't mind getting to capacity with positivity. Does that make sense? When we do those things that are positive, then we are able to do more things that are positive. Not having toxic people around you. Now, sometimes this is an ouch moment. And people go, but that's my friend. That's my family member. I understand. But if they are toxic to you, meaning that they are more negative than positive as a personality, it doesn't mean that you have to stop loving them. It just means that you need to give them less access to you on any given day. So if you have to see them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, okay. Before you were spending 5 hours with them, okay. Maybe now you should only spend an hour with them. Okay. You still see them. You're still able to do what needs to be done. You still are able for you to pour some positivity into their life without giving all of you away, and also without receiving too much of their toxic behavior or negativity. You have to learn to do that dance over time. Now, declutter your space. Now, I firmly believe in, and I know this is going to sound really odd, but in my office area, I have a lot of windows. As you can see this window behind me, I have about 7 of those windows in this space. I love being able to let the natural light in, to be able to see outside. I love looking at the sky. So one of the things that I do is make sure that my windows are always clean. Now, this might seem really trivial, but I'm going to share nonetheless. To me, when I stare out of that window and I gaze into the sky, I want my vision to be clear. For me, that represents the vision of what I'm trying to do. When I daydream, when I set aside that time in my day, allow my mind to just wander and be creative and think about my future. When I'm looking out that window, I don't want it to be dirty. I don't want there to be stuff on it. And when it rains, sometimes some dust can gather there. So I make sure that the windows are clean. There's going to be spaces where you are going to say, this is like my sacred space. This is my quiet time space. This is my space that belongs to me. And I want my desk clean. I have a glass desk. So every day when I start off, I clean it, get, handy dandy Windex, wipe it down, it's nice and clean. I start my day. About halfway through the day, guess what? I wipe it down again. At the end of the day, I wipe it down again. Why? Because I've been using the space. In the same way that our phones get kind of, all those little fingerprints from using it, my desk gets the same way. So I always want to have a clean foundation, a clean surface, a clean workspace, so that I'm able to be productive and see where I'm going. Now, that might not be of any importance to you. Your thing might be a different thing, but everyone has those little things that really help keep them motivated and keep them moving forward. Organize. I am one of those people that believe firmly. Have a plan, so plan your work and work your plan. Plan your work and work your plan. If you don't have a plan, then you don't know what you're supposed to do that day. If we think about it, we do have plans. Even if we don't think about it or we don't write it down, people will ask, what are you doing today? So what's your plan? Oh, nothing much. So that's your plan, to do nothing much. Well, nothing much. Well, is that a small nothing, a big nothing? How much of that is nothing versus a something? It's still a plan. So in that, we inadvertently plan our lives, even when we're not planning our lives. So if you know what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you need to be, all of those things, it will help you keep down your stress, your anxiety. It will help you keep on time and be more productive in any and everything that you do. I know even when we go on vacation, because many of the people that are in my family members are responsible for other people. We all tend to be kind of hyper vigilant when it comes to planning. We kind of have an itinerary even when we're on vacation. right? So it's like, I thought we were on vacay. We are. So I just emailed everybody, or just sent a text, and it's like, okay, we're going to do breakfast at 6, and then we're going to go to here at 9. We're going to do this. It's like, okay, break, right? Like, we plan everything because we're so used to having our lives, our careers planned out for us, that we find safety and security in having that plan. So even when we plan on doing nothing, that's on the itinerary. Nothing from 7 to 9. Go do whatever it is that you want to do. Have a good time. And in that moment of planning nothing, it allows you the freedom to not have to think about what's next. It gives you the freedom of understanding that in this moment, we're enjoying simply being in each other's presence, simply being with the people that we know, that we love, and that we're enjoying the downtime. Now, some folks might say, well, Dr. Angela, I'm a spontaneous person. I like to go by the seat of my pants. Well, guess what? That's still a plan. You're planning on being spontaneous. You're planning on not writing it down so that you can appear to have nothing to do and go about your day. So in all the things that we do, we should be very aware of how we do it, when we do it, why we're doing it, and how what we do affects others. Do we want a positive result? Do we want a neutral result, meaning that people weren't happy nor sad, they were simply informed? Are we trying to be someone who leaves a positive result, that you were informed, that you had a good time, that you at least laughed or chuckled, or you smiled a little bit, something, right? That it was something that left the person going, that was good, that was cool, I like it. So we all plan, even if we don't realize that we are. And the last little bit, and I hope I'm doing okay on time, is meditate and pray. Now, depending on who you are and what you do, I use those words interchangeably, meditate and pray. Meditate, sometimes for me, is just sitting quietly, just thinking about something that has been going on, or something that I want to do, something that I am trying to achieve, trying to bring that positiveness into my life, trying to bring that thing to fruition. Praying to me is the time that I spend with God in positive conversation, in acts of gratitude, and trying to be thankful and honoring those that are around me. Some people feel that you can pray once a day. Others believe that you may spend this time 3, 4, 5 times a day. Whatever works best for you, I would say, is what you need to do. And your spirit knows when you need to meditate, when you need to pray. So honor that in yourself. So how does all of that have to do with who I am and what I've done? I have done all of these things consistently throughout my life. Some things I've done knowingly, some things I kind of stumbled upon. But the thing is that once I figured out what I needed to do, where I needed to go, and that there was a designated route for me, I started doing things with intention and on purpose. And the result has been so positive, so wonderful. For example, it's gotten me here with you today, and I'm so happy to be able to share. Thanks you guys so much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful session. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, please go for it. You can type it on the chat box or you can raise your hand. Yeah, Neeraj.
Ma'am, I want to know about that sometimes don't engage with negative person, but that is become long time. My father, I think that is negative person, but I have not engaged at least 2 and 3 years. So that's why I feel that like for that I didn't respect her. Yeah, how we overcome that type of situation. Yeah, you understand my sister?
There was a little bit of feedback. You were asking, how do you overcome a certain type of situation? Can someone tell me what was the situation? What was the obstacle?
I think there's an issue with his father, right, Neeraj?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, not fathers like negative persons. Yeah, I love them, but I don't want to be engaged their idea. I don't want to be accept their idea. But we sometimes, so I have long time to be farther than avoiding their advice. So I think sometimes I feel morally low. So I ask.
So many times, if I'm understanding the question correctly, so many times, especially with our family members, they're gonna give us advice, but they're giving us advice honestly according to their life, according to their experiences, and according to their filters. So if someone has had a really great life, then they're going to tell you according to that great life. If someone, let's put money to it, okay, to make it a little bit easier. If someone has grown up poor, then they're going to tell you how to be an adult through the lens of being poor. If someone has grown up middle class or rich, they're going to tell you how to be an adult through that lens. So many times our parents, our siblings, whomever it is that's older than us, they're telling us through the filter, through the lens of their experiences. So we can listen, we can honor their voice, and take the advice that's good, and the rest that is not, we can just neatly put that away, and perhaps that piece of advice can be shared for someone else. So over time, you will find that when you're honoring your own voice, that means that you may be turning down someone else's so that you can turn yours up. I remember that before I moved to California, I had a family member that asked if I could please not go. And they made a very valid argument, but I knew that I had to go to California, that I couldn't stay on the East Coast, that I must go to the West Coast in order to be the person that I wanted to be. Was it hard? Yes. I was 3,000 miles away from my family, from everything that I had known. So I had to make a name for myself. I could not depend on my family name. I could not depend on those things, but instead I had to forge a way for myself. And in doing that, once I achieved, they understood that it was okay for me to have done that. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. And I try to be engaged my father and don't accept their negative stuff. Like maybe some giving times they help me for building my relationship.
You are so welcome. So part of the problem too sometimes is that when we're younger, like I said, here I know that every culture has their understanding of when you become an adult, right? For some cultures it's 16, for some it's 18, for some it's 21. So here in the States, when you're 18, you're an adult. But truth is that you can't really do a whole lot. You're just legally able to sign a contract and bound yourself legally. But at 18, most 18-year-olds cannot really take care of themselves, move out, and be independent of their parents. Usually that comes when you're older than college age, which here most students graduate when they're about 24, 25 years old, right? So now you're older, you have more experiences, you have more knowledge, you have more under your belt, so to speak, that enables you to be that successful adult. So where you are in your age also has a lot to do with how people perceive you. So it's like, oh, well, you're young, you're only 19. Oh, you're 20. You don't know what you're doing. You're still kind of, it's a mean thing, but you're still kind of young and inexperienced, which there's some truth to that, but it doesn't mean that what you know isn't important. So as you get a little older, people are going to start to respect you also because your age has increased, simply because you've started to live life a whole lot longer, and right from wrong. Some people in your family are going to love you regardless. Some people are going to kind of but That's just who people are. So try to stay as positive as you can.
Yeah, ma'am, I like your answer, and I most like a self-care. Yeah, that is very interesting. Like loving nature. I also love nature sometimes, and I give time for nature. I think very interesting suggestion for me. Thank you, ma'am.
You are so welcome. Thank you for that.
Anyone else? So I myself have a question, ma'am. Like I'm that guy who is like self-distracting guy. So I wanted to know some exercises so that I can be more, focused for a longer time.
Sure, and that's a good question. So let me give you 2 examples. So one is really, really, really simple, and you can do it anywhere. However, I do suggest that you do it someplace where you're not going to be disturbed, like in your room or in the car, wherever it is, like in the bathroom, doesn't matter, but you're not going to be disturbed. So you can use a pen or you can use a Post-it note, whatever it is, but you're going to sit on one side of the room and you're going to make a dot on the opposite wall. So if you guys, wherever you're sitting right now, right? If you looked at the wall that is across from you and you look straight ahead, there's a wall there. If you were to put a dot, so let's say you were to take like a little sticky note or piece of paper or a marker and you were to put a dot right there, that's going to be your focal point. So throughout the day, when it's time for you to focus and practice that, not allowing other things to distract you, you're going to look at that dot. So you're going to come, you're going to sit in your chair, and you're going to practice focusing on that dot. Now, you're not saying anything to yourself. You're trying to keep your mind kind of neutral, kind of in a free state. So when you're looking at that dot and you go, did I turn the stove on? Did I turn the light on? Did I lock the door? None of that, right? So every time you have a thought and it interrupts, refocus. You're gonna go back to that dot. Now, why do we use a dot? Because it's just a visual representation, just something for your mind to get used to focusing on that thing until you're able to learn how to silence your mind yourself, how to focus yourself. So the more you do that exercise, and you start practicing longer and longer and longer. So I know it might sound crazy, but your first goal might be just for 30 seconds. Can I do this without having a thought come in and distract me from focusing on the dot? And you get longer and longer and longer. And the more you do it with the dot, you can take the dot down, and then you can just learn how to sit quietly, peacefully without the dot, closed, with your eyes closed or with your eyes open, but you'll be able to sit and just listen to your breath and be able to understand, okay, in this moment, I'm trying to focus. How do you transfer that to an activity? Well, when you're on your laptop or you're giving a speech or whatever it is, you're able to take that and apply it to what you're doing. So when you're on your laptop and you're typing away and you're doing your paper, you can go, it is time to focus. And your brain will go, oh, okay, that's no distraction time. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do my work. Now, for some people, they say, well, I can't really do that. What else can I do? You could play music. If there's a particular song, if there's a particular tone on your phone, if there's some audible thing that you can do, that's also a way to help train your brain to be able to focus in as well. So every time you hear that song, you know, oh, wow, this means this is focus time. We need to really do this. And I know that I will do that as well, the music bit. When I'm really working on a project that I need to do, I have a playlist. And that playlist is, if you walk in and you hear that, it's like, uh-oh, she's got the jazz going. That's a do not disturb sign. And everyone, boundary, right? Everyone has learned that it's like, okay, she's really in there working away. And then when that goes off, or the music changes to something else, and it's like, okay, that's a little more upbeat, or that's a little more happy or fun. It's like, you must be done. So that's an easy thing that doesn't cost you anything but your time initially. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am, very much. Yeah. Tanya has it.
Ma'am, my question is that there are times in life when you feel nervous and start self-doubting yourself. So how can I gain confidence? How can I change my mindset and gain confidence during those times? No, I often say no to opportunities because I self-doubt myself and I feel nervous.
Yeah. Well, that's human. That's natural. It's a part of the growth process. So with the 7 things that I gave you, you have to, or the way that I did it was, I used those bits and pieces in the beginning. Am I able to do this? Am I qualified on any level to do this thing? If my answer is yes, then I hold on to that one yes. And I use that yes, like as the jacket that I put on. Can you come in and talk about anxiety? Yes. So I put that yes on, and that's the lane that I stay in. That's what I talk about. If someone says, can you come in and talk about drug addiction? No. There's drug addiction counselors for that. Let them talk about that. They're a little bit more qualified, right? So in understanding what can I do versus what can't I do, and let's stay in the lane of what I can do, then that gives me more confidence. That gives me more of a boost. So if you put on those things that you know gives you that additional boost. And I know this is going to sound really, really kind of simple and almost like too simple, but if there's something that you put on, literally put on your body that makes you feel confident, in that confidence, you're able to walk forward. So if there's a bracelet that you have, if there's an earring, I tend to wear red lipstick. Don't have too much of it on today, but I tend to wear red lipstick, right? My grandmother, I remember, told me one time that a lady wasn't dressed until she had her lipstick on. Well, my grandmother was born in 1908. So during that time period, a well-dressed woman always had red lipstick on. So when she was going to go out and about and do her things, like her business things, she put red lipstick on. Sorry about that. She put red lipstick on. So I, in turn, have taken on that habit that when I am ready to present, when I am ready to do, I have my red lipstick on. I don't know if you can see in the picture behind me, this picture right here, I have on my red lipstick, red lipstick, red lipstick, red lipstick, red gloss, because it's early in the morning. But that's still a thing. So in doing that, it says, I am confident, I am ready, I am bold. But it's also about positive self-talk as well. If you talk yourself out of it, then you won't do it. But you can also talk yourself into it as well. I'll give you an example. When we're exercising, many times when we're exercising and we're getting to that tired part, especially if you're running or you're jogging, there's a little voice in your head that says, we should stop. Oh, you're running. It's like, oh, we should stop. Oh God, we're gonna die, right? Every runner has experienced that. Everyone who has exercised has experienced that, where it's like, you can't do one more leg lift. You can't do one more push-up. You can't do one more chin pull, nothing. You're exhausted and your brain is saying, don't do it. But you can also tell yourself one more. It's like that trainer that says, give me 5, and then says, give me 5 more. Why do they say that? Because they know that deep down inside, you're able, you're capable, you can do it. So in building your confidence, do those things that you know you can do, hands down, matter-of-factly. You put it on your list. Today, what can I do? I can make up my bed. Today, I can drink an additional glass of water. Today, I can hug my mother, kiss my little brother, whatever it is, right? Something so simple. There's no way that you can't not do it because you do it anyway. You do it automatically as a part of your day. But what you're going to do is you're going to pay attention to your doing it. Did I brush my hair today? Check. Did I eat breakfast today or lunch or whatever? Check, right? So you're saying, okay, I got this. You're building your confidence, even though you don't realize it. You're building your confidence because every time you're able to check off something that you have done, your brain says, oh, we're good at this. Okay, yeah, we want to do this more and more. We want to keep doing this because we like how this feels when we're able to check those things off. Then that's when you move to that next level. Before, when I was talking about the ABC, 1, 2, 3, red, yellow, green. So the more things that you do, that is that very basic level, and you check those off, you can now add the next level. The more you check those things off, you can then go to those things that are more difficult, that require more of you. But you will be ready for the more of you because you're so used to accomplishing, so used to achieving those things. And it comes in time, but start with those things that are so simple, but make a list so that you can physically check them off or cross through them and go, did it. What am I going to do next? And you'll literally feel the difference at the end of the day. I hope that helped.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I'm so sorry. I got a little bit of feedback. I heard the thank you. If you had a question, please re-ask. If not, okay.
So I think there are no more questions now. So on the behalf of entire Order team and all members present here, I would like to thank you, Dr. Angela, ma'am, for sharing your wisdom with us through this insightful session. Thank you, ma'am, once again. It was a pleasure having you here with us, and we look forward to have many such insightful sessions in future. It was a great session.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me to be here. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Welcome. Bye-bye.